Okay, well, thank you for coming tonight. I'm Russ McNeely. I'm the instructor for Oakton Community College's Creative Applications for Business creative courses, such as Adobe Illustrator, Adobe Photoshop, and Adobe InDesign. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right, we're going to take a look at some student work from the past year. Okay, so is everybody seeing the slides okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we'll be looking at some of the work from this past semester and then the previous semester as well. We have a lot of work we could look at, but for keeping time under a reasonable amount of time, that's what we're going to do. So right now, so like I said, I'm teaching 4 courses this semester: desktop publishing, Photoshop, Illustrator, and advanced topics. And the desktop publishing class covers Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign. And in that class, we just designed a brochure. We do some image processing. We make a logo. We put them into a brochure, and we design a brochure. And that's all done by step-by-step videos. And also there are fun discussions for students. I know sometimes students don't necessarily like discussions, but these are definitely fun, positive, uplifting. And so they definitely are about kind of understanding what other people's opinions are, and kind of learning about different graphic styles and so forth, and then kind of coming together as a class, because these are all online classes. And so we need to do something to kind of come together as a group, and that's how we do it. We'll mostly talk about Photoshop work tonight, and that's a 3-credit-hour class that also comes with step-by-step videos. And those videos tend to be, so Adobe publishes a book like this, okay? I believe this is the 2020 version. We'll be using the 2021 version. And it also comes with step-by-step videos. So that way, students have the book, they have the videos, they can learn the way they want to learn. But also, how do they kind of get that connection? How do they get some of the intangibles that the book really doesn't talk about? Again, we use the discussions for that. And through that, we're going to learn about more style, more graphic styles, and also the student exploring their own kind of style. Okay, and we also kind of take a position of, okay, well, tell us your point of view, so that the student has some time to think about what do they think about a certain graphic topic. And so I'll show you some of that. And then also, Illustrator is Adobe Illustrator. It's a 3-credit-hour class. And in that class, we're not just dealing with imagery like in Photoshop. We're dealing with imagery, text, and illustration. And also, it's about exploring the power of visual communication a little bit more through the discussions, okay? So, and then of course, advanced topics covers Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign. And there we're going to talk a lot about layout and font use, what a page layout structure should be like, depending on the type of content there is, different types of fonts that have different connotations and so forth. So we can really stress effective communication. So really, it's kind of a sequence whereby we're taking the basics, showing some different graphic styles, then having students explore their own style, okay? Then exploring their style in the context of imagery, text, and illustration. And then, of course, kind of really, really flying on their own in the advanced topics course, okay? So to give you an example of some of the types of things that we cover from a discussion standpoint, these are the CAB 172 Adobe Photoshop discussions, okay? So Photo surrealism. Some people like it. Some of you may know the artwork of Salvador Dali. That's very surreal. And some people really like that. They like to do that with Photoshop, but some people, they think it's a little too far out. That's okay. A student gets to explore that and come up with their own idea of what they like and what they don't like, what they'd like to do and what they don't want to do. Okay. Then other things like different types of graphic techniques like posterization. And then also we would talk about, I'm going to admit another person here. Also, we would talk about resolution, and which is very important, a very important aspect of using Adobe Photoshop. Also, selections. We've all seen images that things can look pretty fake, so that's an important thing. Layers is a little bit technical, but the long story short here is I've got a great assignment where students take somebody else's image and they try to guess what the layers are. And it's a really great exercise in kind of understanding what all the different layers are in somebody else's work. Then finally, we start having the student do their own work. Okay, so they're going to just do what they feel like. Give us something that they've been thinking about. Maybe they talked to me in week 1 about why they're taking the class, and so they would definitely want to spread their wings a little bit and try doing some of their own work and then showing the other students that work. That's usually the fun, is showing somebody what you've done. And so although they're called discussions in D2L, they're really much more than discussions. Another thing is making someone nice for someone, taking imagery and then making something that will make that person feel good. Okay. Feeling your feelings or someone else's. That's something I don't expect the person to do some work. I just expect them to kind of take a stand about something, whatever that might be. It doesn't have to be political, doesn't have to be extreme. It's just, what do they feel about something? Or they don't want to explore their own feelings. What do they think somebody else might think about something? Okay. Vector drawing can be pretty difficult, and so we spend a good amount of time on that. Okay. Adobe Illustrator does a lot of vector drawing. And so it's really good when they start out in Photoshop, when the students start out in Photoshop to get good at it. Okay. Upscaling your own image. We've all seen images that are, low resolution. They don't look good. And upscaling is one of the key things that Photoshop does. And so it's kind of fun for a student to take, let's say, an old picture from their, from their family album that's really pretty grainy and not in focus, and see how Photoshop gets that back into focus. Then doing their own painting. Students really love to do a lot of painting with Photoshop. It's using all the brushes and techniques are a great way to go. And then, of course, thinking about the final project. What is their own inspiration? Why did they take that class? And then delivering that in the final discussion, whereby they're showing what their vision was, and then they're actually doing it in Photoshop. Okay. So that said, let's go ahead and jump right into taking a look at some student work. So this is from the past semester, and this was done by Tani Encinas, and this is actually her mother. Her mother is in that black and white photo up there, so she kind of wanted to do a little bit of a composite with the photo of her mother's class there, and her mother there. If you saw the black and white and you saw this colorized version, you'd see how vibrant and young her mother looks here, with the brown eyes and the touch of mischievousness in her eyes. So that was the thing that I really loved about this. And this is the sort of thing that, the student gets to start out and spread their wings about some of the things that they've been wanting to try with Photoshop. Okay. This is actually from my students, from all my students. This is one of my favorite bits of work from any of our really any of our students. This is just beautifully done. the interesting contrast of the purple and the green, the layers of imagery, the visual rhythm of the flower in this lighter space here and this lighter space here, the scale of the flower and the hand, and the power of the image of that flower, even though the hand is so much bigger. These are all things that we work toward developing before the student does their own work. Okay, so we're going to talk, we talk about that in some of the other classes as well, where we're kind of trying to integrate different visual concepts, and then the student, as you can see, really kind of hits it out of the park. And that's one of my favorite things with this class. I'm a volunteer with the Scouts, and when we train kids and adults, we have a saying, and that is, train them, trust them, let them lead. And it's a similar thing here where we're training students, we're trusting them with the tools and knowing what to do, and then we're letting them free to do really cool things like this. Okay, so a beautiful work by Sarah Laboda. Okay, this is another nice piece by Tani Encinas, and this was something nice for somebody. Her friend was down. I won't go into the details. That was all written out in the discussion, but this was a logo she did for her friend, just so her friend would have a personal logo, and I think it's just wonderful. I'm pretty sure, I can't tell if that's a thistle or a clover, but nevertheless, beautiful work, beautiful typography, nice color scheme with the type matching the flower, and also I really love that the bees just slightly off center. It gives it a touch of animation, which is really pretty cool. So this is another piece by Sarah Laboda. She wanted to do something nice, and so she chose this. Her message was unity is strength, and I really love that the girl in the dress, she has picked up that color in the message, and just a really nice piece there. And as you can see, some text manipulation down there on the bottom. Okay, so we talked a little bit about upscaling, and this is a piece by Tani Encinas, where she wanted to upscale an old image of her mom, and I have to say I didn't want to do a lot of before and after, just for the sake of time, but this is really beautifully done, whereby she upscaled the image of her mom. And then again by Sarah Laboda. If any of you have taken pictures of extremely small things like a mantis, it isn't all that easy to get, and so sometimes that's not, you get the shot, but it's not in focus, and Photoshop is one of the things that helps you do that. So this is actually upscaled to a much better resolution and focus. Okay. Also, the students do some painting. So here again, Tani has an interesting kind of point of view when she colorized this. I like that she used a light painterly touch on the skirt, because it's essentially a sheer skirt, and the painting that she did really enhances that translucence of the skirt. And then, of course, completing your vision. There is usually in this class, or any of the classes, no shortage of humor. Students really kind of like to spread their wings a little bit and do some humorous things. And so Tani wanted to do this one, and just kind of, because she and her friends couldn't go on vacation, couldn't take the trip that they wanted to do, she put this together for them, and it was just kind of a fun thing. So Sarah Laboda did some really beautiful work here. Let me see if I can move this out. I hope it's not over, but you can see the beautiful translucence in the upper left-hand corner of the photos with the feathers, and this was why she took the course. She really wanted to make beautiful family artwork. Okay, and I think she certainly did that with this collage. Okay, so in past semesters, we've had some work, for example, this by Victoria Morrison, really nicely done, using some of the different painting capabilities. And also, some students come and they want to be able to do website mock-ups, and so here they'll they'll use the different capabilities in Photoshop or Illustrator to assemble a mock-up of a website that for their portfolio or their employer or even their own business. So that's definitely one of the things that that students tend to like to do in this class. Again, Ken Sachs. Ken is an interesting guy. He's pretty funny. Most of the time he does extremely funny graphics. And here, instead, he wanted to do a mock-up of a website. So I thought instead of showing some of his funny work, we would show some of the stuff where he's doing photo composition and layout and so on. So some pretty nice work there. This is, I think, another really beautiful image by one of the students. And I mean, it hardly needs any explanation. But I'd like to point out something that I cannot possibly take credit for. And that is, when we look at the woman and we see the railroad tracks, to me, the railroad tracks remind me of the black and white keys on a piano. And I don't know if that was intended, but it was certainly not something that I taught. And the whimsical, beautiful music in this image is so evident, and the motion of the leaves moving toward the center, all of it is just fantastic. And again, training them, trusting them, and letting them do their thing. And this is what results, and it's just a great thing. So this is a graphic by Osner. She's one of our students who's done some really nice work. And so one of the concepts that we teach is, there are a couple of different things: scale and rule of thirds, and a number of different concepts, which this graphic really kind of indicates. And so one of the things I love about it is, sure, it's balloons. They're headed out somewhere. It's very painterly, and it's a nice image. However, again, I can't teach some of these things that from a symbolic standpoint, students perhaps are trying to get across. If you look in the lower left-hand side, all of the painterly strokes kind of indicate an X shape. And I just love that visually this image indicates that's where the balloons are heading. They're not just floating there in the sky. It's a very active, very dynamic graphic, and beautiful work by Osner. Now I take no credit for it. So this is some painterly work by Sarah Button. Sarah does some really beautiful work, and I really like how she took an image that clearly had a well-focused flower in the foreground, had a background that was clearly out of focus, but then took a very painterly approach to both that was kind of just right for both the foreground texture and the background texture. So again, really nice work here. All right, and then just kind of ending on a funny note here, another bit of work by Sarah. No, Mr. Bone, I expect you to die. So very funny and enjoyable. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop that share. Okay. And I see that Leah and Ross have joined us. Hi, Ross. How are you? Great. So
Good. How are you?
doing okay. So
Sorry I'm late. I was doing an orientation for my class in Zoom.
good. Okay. So so that is just about our time, and I hope that you guys have hope that you guys have really enjoyed it.